Hello dear learners, back at again with another video lesson. So for today's presentation, my topic is all about calculating the discrimination index. So come with me and let's learn together on how to calculate the discrimination index. But before we proceed to the main discussion, here are the learning objectives. So at the end of this session, you are expected to K. Identify the steps in calculating the discrimination index. S. Solve the problem using the formula on how to calculate the discrimination index. And A. Justify the importance of learning how to calculate the discrimination index. In calculating the discrimination index, there are steps that we need to follow. And these are: Step 1. Compute each student's score, or in other words, count the number of items each student got correct. Step 2. Divide the class into groups on the basis of total score. So 25% is from the highest scores and another 25% from the lowest scores. The middle group, which is 50%, is not needed in computing discrimination index. Step 3. For each item, count the number of students in the high-scoring group that got the item right. Step 4. Divide this number by the total number in the high-scoring group. Step 5. Repeat steps 3 and 4 for each item. This time, using only the low-scoring group. And for the last step, which is Step 6, for each item, subtract the proportion of low-scoring students who got the item right from the proportion of high-scoring students who got it right. So the remainder is the discrimination index. Now, here is the formula on how to calculate the discrimination index. So discrimination index, or DI, is equals to DU minus DL, wherein U is the students from the upper group and L is students from the lower group. So discrimination index, or DI, is equals to, where RU is the number of students in the upper group who answered correctly, RL is the number of students in the lower group who answered correctly, and T is the total number of students who answered the item. At this point, let's try to calculate the discrimination index of this example. So for example number 1, consider a multiple choice type of test of which the following data were obtained. So in item 1, these are the options: letter A, letter B, letter C, and letter D. So as you can see, there are 80 total number of students who took the test, and 20 students is coming from the upper group, which is 25% of the total population of students, and another 20 students from the lower group, which is also 25% of the total population of the students. The remaining 40 students are those students who belong to the middle group, which is the 50% of the total population of the students that are not included in calculating the discrimination index. So in item number 1, the correct answer is B. Hence, DU is equals to 15 divided by 20. So where did this 15 came from? So this 15 are those students from the upper group who choose the correct answer, which is letter B, divided by 20. So this 20 are the total number of students who took the test from the upper group. So 15 divided by 20 is equals to 0.75. So another is DL is equals to 5 divided by 20. So this 5 are those students from the lower group who choose the correct answer. Divided by 20, the total population of students from the lower group who took the test. So 5 divided by 20 is equals to 0.25. So now, DI, or the discrimination index, is equals to DU minus DL. So DU, which is 0.75, minus DL, 0.25. So 0.75 minus 0.25 is equals to 0.5 or 50%. So the item has a good discriminating power. Note that destructor A is not an effective destructor since this was never selected by students. It is an implausible destructor. The structures C and D appears to have good appeal, hence it is considered as plausible destructor. And now let us know if what is a destructor. Effective destructors, which are the incorrect answers in selected response test, can play an important role in getting the measurement data you're seeking. Well-written destructors provide information that no other aspects of the assessment can. In addition, destructors are intended to distinguish between students who have not yet acquired the knowledge necessary to answer the item correctly from those who understand the content. A good destructor attracts students from the lower group. So more students from the lower group should be inclined to select a good destructor. If too many students from the upper group select the destructor, it should be revised, as it suggests that it is ambiguous in too many students who are doing well normally are seeing this particular destructor as being an answer or the correct answer. So it means that it needs some mode of revision in another test if you decided to use this particular question. If a destructor is not selected, it is a poor destructor. So if the destructor is not selected, it means that it is clear that that particular destructor is not the correct answer. So it means it is a poor destructor and should be avoided in the next assessment. There are types of destructor. First is implausible destructor. An implausible destructor can be defined as an answer choice that can be quickly eliminated by someone with little or no knowledge of the topic being tested. For example, an answer choice could be considered implausible if it is composed of relatively unimportant information along with other choices that focus on more important concepts or trivial destructor. Does not grammatically follow from the stem or specific determiners, or contains words such as always or never, which suggest an incorrect option. Plausible destructor, on the other hand, or plausible alternatives serve as functional destructors, which are those chosen by students that have not achieved the objective but ignored by students that have achieved the objective. There's also another formula for calculating the discrimination index, and this is DI is equals to RU minus RL over by 1/2 of N, where RU is the total number of students in the upper group who answered correctly, RL is the total number of students in the lower group who answered correctly, and N is the total number of students. So now, at this point, let us check if we can get the same answer from this formula, the second one, to the first formula that we used earlier. So, discrimination index is equals to RU minus RL over by 1/2 of N. So, discrimination index or DI is equals to 15 minus 5 over by 1/2 of 40. So, this 15 are the total number of students from the upper group who got the correct answer minus the total number of students from the lower group who got the correct answer divided by 1/2 of 40. So this 40 are those students from the upper and lower group. So 20 students from the upper group and another 20 students from the lower group. So DI is equals to 15 minus 5 is equals to 10 over by 1/2 of 40, which is 20. So discrimination index is equals to 0.5 or 50%. Now let's go back to the first formula that we used earlier. Let us check if we come up with the same answer from this second formula. So again, this is the answer from the given example, which is the example number 1. So di is equals to du minus dl. So equals to du is 0.75 minus dl 0.25. So 0.75 minus 0.25 is equals to 0.5 or 50%. So as we calculate the discrimination index of the example number 1, we come up with the same answer using the 2 formula. So now that we're already done with our discussion and you already know how to calculate the discrimination index, at this juncture, let's have an activity. So for your activity, I want you to get a 1 whole sheet of pad paper and answer this example. So what is the discrimination index of an item with the following number of students who get the correct answers from the different groups? There are 80 students who took the test, 16 students from the upper group, 12 students from the middle group, and 10 students from the lower group. Note that the total number of students is equals to 40 since there are 80 students who took the test, and the middle, which is 50% of the total population of students, and this is 40 students, is not included in computing the discrimination index. You are given 10 minutes to answer this activity and afterwards pass it in front. As for the discrimination index, we have the following arbitrary rule. So the first column is the range of discrimination index, second is the interpretation, and third is the action. So if the discrimination index is negative 1.0 minus negative 0.50, so its interpretation is can discriminate but it is questionable. So the action that we must need to do is to discard or to reject. But if the discrimination index is negative 0.51 minus 0.45, the interpretation is non-discriminating, which means we need to revise or we need to change. And if the discrimination index is 0.46 minus 1.0, it means that it is a discriminating item. So the action that we need to take is to retain it or to keep it. So that would be all for the calculating of discrimination index. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something for today's video presentation. Have a great day!